Well, sometimes I'm dumb and sometimes I'm plumb dumb, but I at the very, very last part of yesterday's stream, I got exactly what you guys were talking about. Okay, welcome creatives, community, and kind folks to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and yes, we are talking about Obsidian Star, a tabletop science fiction tabletop role playing game that I'm designing with all of you guys, all of you brilliant guys. And at the end of yesterday's stream, someone asked a question about like, what's this thing about the cores and whatnot? And I was like, oh, because of course, when we're going live, my brain goes many different places, and sometimes the place my brain goes is like, it's live. I'm thinking of so many different things. Talking about Datacores today. Datacores, yes, it was yes, yesterday. Um, and at the end of the show, I very quickly came up with a thumbnail and the post and blah 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 blah. So part of the design of this is me showing you how the sausage is made. And ooh, that's a little too bright there. And um, uh, one of the things about role playing games, especially when designing a role playing game, is that in our heads we think we know what the players are going to do and how someone who grabs the game is going to use it, and we need to give the players a reason to do something and the game master to default to giving the players a problem to solve. And sometimes we have brilliant role-playing games, but it doesn't tell us overtly what to do, especially when um, we have trouble finding out what to do. So, for example, in classic fantasy, for good or bad, the dungeon exists because as a default to giving our players something to do. There's an ancient crypt, there's something underground. Go underground, go get the thing, kill stuff that's down underground and come back out with it. Now, in that design mechanism, of course, many of us go, isn't that a little bit like breaking down someone else's door to get to into their house, taking their stuff and feeling like murder killing them and acting like it belongs to us? It's a little it seems a little bit like that. So then we start coming up with story ideas, and I wanted some kind of existential threat. And in science fiction, existential threats are very popular, mainly because um, sometimes it has nothing to do with the threat, but what is our reaction to having an external threat? An existential threat in science fiction's very common, whether it's a expanding black hole or radiation sweeping across the galaxy, an alien invasion that just cannot be stopped. It could be the collapse of society or something like that. There's some other threat out there that we know that theoretically our players will never stop it, but they will bump up against it and have that difficulty. The In Star Trek, we always have the existential threat of an alien race that just will not be reasoned with, and it began with the Klingons, and then they became more of a they gave them nuance. So then we had to go with the Borg, and then gave them nuance, and then you move on and on and on. And so we're going to get into Datacores and what they represent, both like meta, like out of game, and then what they represent inside the game. So yep, Datacores for data and lore. Exactly. Caligula says, "Good 12 o'clock morning." Yeah, it's slightly past 6 a.m. here is stateside, but for you guys, like right in the middle of the day, it's kind of cool. Deadman says most of the data cores would be hot swappable, removable hard drives, not the solid the solid states, the SATAs connected hard drives like you have in your thumbnail. They likely look like thumb drives. Yeah, well, I had to. There's no photograph of what we're talking. Well, not a clean photograph of what we're talking about. Yeah, just plug one into a computer and it'll do its thing. Well, kind of. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but the concept of what I'm coming across makes it a little bit more difficult, and I'll explain why. In inverse alien invasion, inverse alien. What would that? Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. It's an alien invasion, but it's coming from inside of me. Datacores are like the greatest treasure in Obsidian, right? Okay, so um, here's the concept and what the Datacores represent, and probably for me having not a conflict, but um, the physically describing what they're like. So I wanted an event or something. A data core represents a unit of measurement of problems for the player characters, the setting, and the solar system, if that makes sense. And I thought about the whole concept of alien invasions, AIs taking over, and I was like, no, I want something that game masters, the Spiral, could come up with on their own. That's a little bit undefined, but everyone understands what the threat is, and I didn't want to make it a a trope of science fiction. Like I didn't want aliens, I didn't want robots, I didn't want AI systems. So instead, I decided to take fringe science that we are familiar with today and then expand upon it and go, what if that technology was real? So dark matter, dark energy, black hole creation, antimatter, um, extra dimensional spaces, wormholes, faster than light travel, hell, even time travel. Some of these string theory, chaos theory. Like I wanted to pick all of these. Yeah, yeah. Takes about idea. Smash those cliches. Yeah, I wanted to like merge them together into something that is that we have a commonality of language, data cores, but what they do and what happens is a little bit ephemeral. It's a little bit like the fringes of it are um um defining it is a little bit difficult. So the origin, yeah, yeah, exotic matter. There are theories about like not just extra dimensional spaces, but could we in our own not galaxy, but our own universe find places where the rules of physics don't work exactly the same? About how like if you have faster than light travel, technically that's time travel because you could arrive somewhere before you've left where you are, and then and then there's like gravity distortion. So if you start heading towards a planet that's basically orbiting a black hole, the closer you get to the planet, the slower you arrive towards the planet. So at a certain point, it looks like you're just crawling, flying, and crawling to the planet, but you don't see it. But the people outside would. It's all that kind of weird kind of stuff. Deadman says, search high-tech sci-fi thumb drive in Google image search or the AI art software of your choice. You'll get dozens of options to choose from. I thought about doing that, but remember, I was making a thumbnail in like 3 minutes. I had to pick something random. So yeah, that's where that came from. And I was just like, hard drives, because I was like, would they be solid states? Because if you look up other hard drives, you get the spit, the classic spinning hard drives and stuff. And I was like, nah, it doesn't exactly fit. And then I was thinking like the data farms, which are the data farms where there's like these chest-sized hard drives that you can't. It's not the movie ones where you just pull them out and put them, attach them to your belt or something like that, or stick them in a briefcase. I was thinking of these like chest-sized, large, cooler-sized hard drives that are in these data farms and things like that, and I couldn't get any images of it. So yeah, there's some limitations on searching for, which yes, with AI art, I could definitely type that in. TA goes on. In my game, I use the concept that the Star Rigger book by I remember Star Rigger books by John DeChancy wrote, where AI made by humans and most aliens was a scratchy synthetic thing at best, but one alien race of programming down to an almost spiritual level. It could lift the data from a dead human's brain. I thought about that stuff. Yep. To fit into it and give that human a new view via that system. Valenthians was their race's name. I don't remember. It's been so long. I got to reread a lot of these classics. Shai says, I wish I had a Datacore right now. Customer would be killing me with an impossible mission. Yeah. Also, the data drive for the main character's dead father was shaped sort of like a small thumb-shaped pear that fit into a special socket in the truck's computer system. Yeah, like a thumb drive or something like that. I didn't want to make them thumb drives because we already have something like that already. So okay. Here, let's go backwards. Datacores. They are like I said, they are a unit of measure of trouble for the galaxy, the solar system, and our player characters and the NPCs in our world. They came about because of the signal, capital letters, the and signal. A signal came from beyond the Oort Cloud, and no one knows where this signal came from. That signal could have come from humanity that has gone outside of the Oort Cloud to try to explore the deepest reaches of space, to go to Alpha Centauri or Proxima 5 or whatever these other places are out there in the solar system. Could it be an alien signal? Could it be a warning? No one knows. But this signal swept through the system, and when it swept through the system, it basically sent so much data that every single data source that could record information bricked. It filled every cell phone, every watch, every black box, every single electronic source, plugged in or not, became filled with information and then bricked it. It basically turned it off and couldn't be rebooted. It essentially shut every single electronic system, digital system down in the solar system. You can imagine that if you were on a starship, you're flying in a plane, you were underwater in a space habitat. In a sealed habitat. You're driving your car at 173 kilometers an hour on a mega highway. You are in an office building that's 267 stories tall. A lot of people died, and a lot more were trapped, and many of these places became lost in space and things like that. So the first thing people need to do is get things back online. So they start ripping out all this dead mechanisms to plug in new mechanisms. So many of these were rebooted, rewritten, destroyed, trashed, and they didn't want that information leaking into other systems. So they were pulled out of networked systems and things like that, shredded, and then rebuilt. Well, come to find out that once scientists and discoverers were able to pierce this basically packed data, that it actually had a purpose to it. And that purpose became known as Datacores, that gave us information well beyond the scope of science today in the solar system, to go beat well above and beyond what that science was. So dark matter may be theoretical here, but that information gave us the ability to analyze, detect, and even harness or use dark matter. And filling that gap with all kinds of bleeding edge, fringe science. So humanity in our own solar system is theory. That signal came from outside. It became fact. Now, part of that finding the data cores was that, okay, how much of it was trashed? How much it was still plugged into systems? Could you replicate that information? And so this has become the existential threat. Who has access to it? Where is it at? Are there scavengers going after it? Of course there are. Are there mega corporations hoarding it? Of course there are. Are there governments that want to acquire it? Of course there are. Are there criminal organizations that are willing to buy, sell, and trade it? Yes. Are there scientists that have no particular loyalty to anybody. They just want a benefactor so they could study this stuff. Of course there is. And how dangerous is it? Very. Who should have access to it? Everyone feels that very narcissistically that they themselves are the ones who should choose how and when it should be used, and everybody else shouldn't have access to it at all. End of story, period. And so the data cores, I didn't want them to be necessarily pocket sized. And I didn't want them also to be easy to find. And I want them to be something that is Indiana Jones level. You need to hunt this down to go get it, be mainly before anybody else can get access to it. So if the players do nothing, chances are they're going to bump up against other entities that are going to use it and possibly destroy the solar system or gain unfair advantage when it comes to economics or social status or military, or just create problems where they start wiping out life as we know it and things like that. And I wanted these data cores to not be, they are not a universal shape. They aren't like, they'll say, so I've got like a, I'll even turn it on a little bit. So I've got one of these bright lights, and I don't want them all to look exactly the same, right? I want them to be different. Some of them are dismantled. Some are still plugged into systems. Others are encased in protective polymers. Others are were dumped down in the bottom of a trash heap. Some are plugged into, you know, a mega factory and things like that. So, all right, let me see what you guys have to say, and then we'll get back into using data cores. I'm talking about the sausage now, and then we'll talk into like how they fit into the solar system. So Drew says, now I want a data core that is an old magnetic tape style computer. Yeah, like you can see in the old spy films from the 70s. Yes, listen, stop making fun. I was born in 1970, and I remember UVAC, the giant IBM computer that ran on the tapes and stuff. Yes, says TA says, sorry, small thumb-sized blob that was shaped like a pear and a dull like graphite color. Yeah, those little 3D printed materials will probably be shaped so that we hold them very easily in our hands and things like that. So I can see that. Caligulus says, so data cores can constitute an existential threat and are not treasure at all. No, oh, no, they're treasure. Or at least perceived treasure in the hands of those who have it, and a perceived threat in the hands of those who don't have it. I mean, not in the hands who don't have it. Imagine yourself, it's like nuclear weapons, right? Everybody wants them. No one wants anyone else to have them. TA says, funny thing is, in your game, if crossed over with mine, the rival investigation of Pluto would have exposed the first Skyway roadway and portal going out to the network of Skyway roads, the universe over. Are you referring to like Pluto and Charon connected together? Or Pluto is a gateway to the outer universe, which it exists here, except it's kind of a one-way trip. TA says, in my game, the human race was a bunch of people sent through that portal, but unable to find their way back to that point that no one really remembers Earth directly. Oh yeah, 3rd and 4th gen Skyway. Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, they've gone on so far out that they are so many generations past, like 3rd, 4th generation, that they've forgotten where the old pathways were to get back home, and probably even what humanity really looks like anymore. Drew says, imagine an old cassette tape in a brick that someone had as a memento put there, which became a data core. Yep, but nobody knows it's there since the brick is still unopened. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Those things could happen. And some of it is a little bit of like, hey, we need to bring ourselves back up to running our society, and then others going like, oh, we need to recover those old things. Part of this, okay, side note, part of this is reminding me of a real life story where a gentleman, I don't know if he's still looking for it, but downloaded cryptocurrency onto a hard drive on his computer and then tossed that computer away and decided to go looking for it. And it's worth like at the time, at least the story broke that it was worth millions of dollars, and he was searching through a trash heap to go find it, and that there were other people who were like, I wonder if I could find that hard drive in a trash heap, somewhere with billions, hundreds of billions of tons of trash, and looking for millions of dollars worth of something in a hard drive that may or may not be recoverable. And that concept is what drove me to make Datacores. Part of it, visually speaking. TA says, would be interesting if there were Datacores rumored in some bricks, the currency. I think yes, that's exactly what Drew was talking about. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the equivalent of, hey, I'm packing my laptop and my cell phone and my watch and my VR goggles and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to pack them in my case, click the brick close, pack it away on a starship, go out into space, and then this event happens, and that person died because of, I don't know, the HVAC system went out, the air filtration system went out, but their materials were still packed away in the bricks. And someone's like, do I hear something? And then people are scanning for the bricks, and the bricks are like, bip, 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 making sure that they are safe. And then someone finds it in there. So yes, absolutely. TA says, and since you said people never open them, they just use them as money, it would cause a quandary between two groups, at least one that wants to open it and see while the other doesn't. Yes, to preserve their use as a monetary unit. Here's the other problem. The Datacores are dangerous. So much like today, we consider nuclear power and uncovering viruses and energies and things like that to be dangerous. Today there's still people who are scared of the Hadron Collider, where they it's a big giant ring that collides matter together so they can like split atoms and things like that. And there's still people today that are like, we really shouldn't be messing with these things. Oppenheimer, the movie, they even considered the fact that if they test an atomic weapon, that they could literally annihilate our entire atmosphere, and they did it anyway. So data cores kind of represent that kind of technology. If you plug a data core in that allows you to open up a wormhole, no one knows how big that wormhole is going to go. It could swallow the earth and dump it somewhere else, which effectively would kill all life on earth and put the earth, I don't know, 37 light years away. You know what I mean? So it's not a matter of, oh, let's just open up a bunch of bricks till we find one. It's, let's open up a bunch of bricks, and everyone's like, you do realize you could release like a type of technological breakthrough that we don't understand simply by exposing it to other data systems. So, yep. Shai says, born in 1970, almost old enough to be officially cool. Thanks. Alas, 9 years old during the post-punk revolution doesn't quite cut it. Yeah, 1970s. I there's so many technologies that came and went from my era. It's hilarious. TA says, on the Skyway portal from Pluto being the source of humans on the Skyway, most are from communist Soviet Union because they were far more willing to sacrifice scientists and engineers to go through. Yeah, there's a little bit of that with the paper nations in my setting, but yeah, a little bit of that. Searching for Bitcoin in the wastes of Acheron. Very much so. Very, very, very much so. Thank you there, TA. Years of sending people through by every nation that had shown up with people wanting to explore it. That is an issue. When I was considering doing that by picking different nations that explored our solar system, and what would be the cultural difference between people from India going out into space than people from China? And then I was like, no, because then I'd have to make assumptions about things, and I don't like to do that. So instead, I decided to go with paper nations to solve all that. But yeah, the collider that the scientists there did a mock human sacrifice, a sadistic ritual outside of it to mock the people who kept complaining that they worried it would create a black hole and destroy Earth. Yep. The Hadron Collider. There's some people who still think that. Shai says, I was born in 1979. My parents were working on Capros. Really? Okay, so Datacores as existential threat. And is it an instant existential threat? No. Someone can find one and discover what it does and plug it into a system and analyze it. And so, as a default, the player characters, the constellation, I'm calling it a group of player characters, stars are called constellations. So, PCs in this game are called the stars because they are the stars of, like movies, they are the stars. In this world, they are the bright ones. They are the ones who give light to the darkness. And then collectively together, they're a constellation. How the players coalesce, that depends on them. So whether they're smugglers or criminals or assassins or going on missions or law enforcement or whatever, political agents, doesn't matter. They are the constellations, but in the background, you do have these data cores. Yes, they are air quotes treasure. Players can gather them together. They are basically like one-use items that basically break the rules of physics. They break the game. They are designed to break the game, and they are one-use devices. And so, and they operate in 3 steps: finding them, finding out what they do, and then using them. So players, let's just concern ourselves with the players. So players will want to, some greedy players will want to find them for their own use. So you got to figure out where they're at. So that's one explorative thing, finding out where they are in the solar system, and then going after them. Part of that is trying to find them is keeping as much of that knowledge to yourself. Hey, we want to find this thing. I'm looking at you, Indiana Jones. We need to find the MacGuffin, and then not letting enough outside agencies know that that's the exact thing you're looking for. Because the more people that know you're looking for it, the more of them are going to look at you, like the founding of the United States. As people expanded across the United States, we found oil and gold and silver and copper and many other resources as we were expanding across. And the same thing across our solar system. As we were expanding, people want value in things. And so the players, as you're moving along, other people are going to look at you and go, what are they looking for? Let's follow them. And then more people say, boy, there's a whole bunch of people looking, trying to find data cores. Maybe we should find them. And so there becomes this compound problem. Players wanting to find a thing and not letting other people know about it, which makes finding the thing even more difficult. Or the players make a beeline for it, and then they draw with them a bunch of other agencies and individuals and criminal organizations and governments following behind the players to trace them. So so that's one aspect. The second aspect of it is, now that you found it, we need to figure out what it does without killing ourselves in doing it. We don't want to just hit the big red button on the top of it and activate it. We need to find out what it does. So that means you need social encounters and scientific encounters. Where do we take it? Do we use it at a lab? Do we assemble a lab, not letting anybody else know where this lab is, to discover what it is? Do we have a connection to a black market lab to figure it out? Are we connected with a very powerful law enforcement agency that is willing to recover these data cores and just literally put them on ice so that they can be used for the betterment of mankind? Whatever the case may be, finding out what they do and what kind of harm they could bring and what kind of effects they are. And then lastly, player characters kind of want to use them. I mean, that's the other part of it, right? Like it's not that I want to keep them like, oh, we don't want to touch it, we don't use it. If the player figures out that we can literally open up a wormhole and get ourselves from Pluto back to Luna, and they absolutely positively need to do this, then they sure could burn out that data core, get back to Luna, and see the steam and smoke rising from it, and realizing that the scientists are like, no, you turned it on. Why did you do that? And they're like, listen, we need to get back home. Maybe you could still salvage some information from it. Sure, something like that. So that's where the data cores come from. Um, um, let me see what you guys have to say here, and then we'll talk a little bit about bricks. And so, sorry, let me go back to another thing, Dead Man. So you are absolutely correct that literal like solid state drives. Let me see if I can find my. Where did I put the thumbnail at? Let's do the thumbnail, and then let me share this. Let's see, share this image. So we have something. There we go. I'm gonna share this out here. Um, so this is the thumbnail, and I picked a random image from off of Canva to throw this in here, and these are like solid state drives and things like that, and I guess I could look for some, and it's a placeholder image. I kind of didn't want them to be like um uh hand size. Let me see the data farms images. Let's see if I can get some imagery up here, or maybe something like this. Oh no, I have to turn this off. Or maybe like I wanted to show an image like this, but trashed, right? Like it's not just a giant data farm where there's like 5,000 data cores. You could just go in and pop them out of the system, unless, of course, the place is like burned down, flooded. Um, the signal did overload a lot of systems. So you might find a data farm that's got like 10,000 of these things, but there's only like 4 that are really salvageable. But and from what I understand, like a lot of these data farms are like underwater, underground. Um, they to keep them running, they have these massive cooling systems and things like that. But I wanted players to be able to search for them uh, as they saw fit, right? They could search for them in different places. So I wanted to. It's a story element, right? As a creative, sometimes we need to, we want to have an excuse to do a thing, and so that was my excuse to do a thing. So technically, there, Dead Man, you are absolutely correct. Me, I guess I was trying to modify it, manipulate it a little bit. So yeah. TA says the interesting thing about the Stargrigger series of books is that a core component is the misconception that something the main character has is a data core like item with a roadmap to the Skyway. Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-mm-mm. Turns out it's not a data core and there is nothing in it, like literally nothing, not even laws of physics. That's awesome. That's that's a strange, yeah, like what's inside of it? Nothing. Oh, you mean it's empty? No, no, no. I don't mean empty. I mean there's literally nothing there. That's awesome. Drew says somewhere there is a warehouse full of data cores, like the one at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes. Slow clap. Yes. Exactly. Like the players could literally be looking for a thing, bringing it back and finding out like, oh, wait, you mean there's literally a warehouse filled with tens and thousands of these things just put into a box and stuck in a corner, and the agents, the agent they're working with is like, well, yeah, of course. Now, what is the theory behind the signal itself and the data cores and such? I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to give you that answer. Now, I have my own theory about it, but there is no answer, or rather, the answer is whatever you think it is. So, did human beings send this signal back because to bring in a new age of ascending humanity, and the data cores are a accidental side effect of overloading all of humanity's data systems, and if we just worked all together to bring all those things back together, that we could literally step into a new realm of ascension? Sure. Is this the first precursor to a massive war to plan a way to shut down literally every data system in our solar system to destroy humanity and pick them off one by not having them even be able to communicate with each other? Sure. Uh, is there a theory that if we combine enough of these data cores together, that we could reassemble, we could literally create like faster than light travel and become completely unapologetically immortal? Yes. Or was it an accident? Was it literally we need to watch out? Hey, humanity, there's an evil out here, the likes of which we do not understand, and this was an emergency beacon kind of thing that just happened to overlook? Yes. Was it an alien signal trying to communicate with us, and of an alien intelligence or society that is so advanced that a squirt of communication from them literally shut society down? And it took months, even years, and there's still places out there that are empty and vacant and lost. The answer to that is all the above, yes, and then none of that. It's your idea. So that's where I was thinking of data cores. Also, listen, we love ourselves some empty starships and stuff, exploring vacant habitats with dead bodies floating in zero G. I mean, we kind of like that stuff. The mothership role-playing game is kind of based on that. The Alien or Aliens role-playing game is based on that. We love ourselves a little bit of horror. And so in a solar system filled with 1 trillion souls plus, how do we have vacant ships and habitats that haven't been unsealed for weeks, months, years? How do we have lost societies of people in our own solar system where we have technologies that allow us to scan, the outer reaches of our solar system, the signal and the data cores? So that's another storytelling reason why they exist. That's cool, TA. There's one day I want to make a real mock-up of that item. Yeah, Taste of Banat says ruins of a super mainframe, and you have to figure out how to repair it and then figure out what it does. Yes, it's a 3-step process. Find it, analyze it, turn it on. or it doesn't have to be in that order, but we would prefer for it to be in that order. Yeah, Dead Man's like, yep, Apple. Mr. Thomas says, I take it that there could be data cores that are either repositories of work of a scientist or a backup of their brain that had been rumored to crack some important thing like quantum teleportation. Absolutely. Abso-friggin-lutely. Is it possible to, what is it? Quantum entanglement, right? Like, could we quantum entangle 2 human brains, or could we send faster than light communications by quantum entangling 2 communication systems and have real world communications across light years in real time? Yeah, possibly. It could be. Now that sounds mundane, but if someone were able to make maybe someone's able to make a one-way teleportation wormhole, but the problem is, in order to do it, to create a Stargate, you have to physically travel to the second location to activate the Stargate to allow you to step back through in an instant, right? Which becomes its own problem. And so the data cores break the technology of the world we have today on purpose. Characters running around the solar system with a pocket nuke in their disposal for their use. Yeah, or over Unity or something that people are seeking some to destroy it so it's not found. Yes, cults that are trying to destroy it all, a la hiding tech that would threaten the oil industry by oil companies. Yep. What was it? A gentleman created the water engine and was killed, or people suspect that he was killed because he came up with the water engine. I think it was here in Columbus, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, while others want to use the tech to gain advantage over others by having better tech, and others still that want to release it open source to better the universe. All the above. All the above. Are there people who just who are literally the gentleman who created the cure for polio and want to give it away for free? Yes. Are there essentially freedom cults that want to destroy the Datacores so that no one faction has a superior advantage over others? Yes. Are there I don't know, paper nations that want to destroy them knowing that they don't have access to it? So better to take it away from somebody else? Yes, all the above. Shitlord says, so government bureaucracy is responsible for nobody being able to find the data cores? Sure, sure. Is that a possibility? Yes. I mean, for example, if if there's a gold rush, not only do you want to get to the gold first, you want to prevent other people from getting the gold even second, especially if they have more power and influence and money and resources than you. So yeah, you by yourself could walk across this great nation to find gold, Larry gold spilling out of the ground, right? But if there's 50 people behind you hired by some kind of land baron, that doesn't help you out, right? So yeah. So yeah, those kind of things. Now, what is the relationship between bricks and data cores? Bricks, you guys remember me talking about bricks being a monetary value in the sense that now there really is money beyond the bricks. The bricks are Schrodinger's cat value. So long story short, bricks are for those who don't know, in Obsidian Star, bricks are basically containers that you put things in. And they, like real world today, when anything is taken up into space, we need to know what it is. Is it dangerous? What's the volume, the mass, the density, the weight of that object? And so when we become a spacefaring nation, what are you going to take with you? Here's your slang term. Here's your brick. You open up the container, you put your value into it, you close it up, you send it up. But what is value to you versus somebody else? Are you going to put into it your hard drive filled with cryptocurrency, or are they family photos of your family you're leaving behind? Maybe they are your favorite books, or they are fidget widgets. Maybe they're comic books or your tabletop role-playing game books with all the maps and figures with it. Maybe it is dirty laundry or scientific breakthroughs you've been working on, or an unfinished manuscript or something like that. Heck, it could be, unfortunately, it could be a rotting sandwich. It could be um, uh, uh, the cure to a virus that you found, things like that. And so people pack things into bricks, put them onto starships. Those bricks were then packed together into storage units and then sent off into space for people to then collect their brick, open it up, and then go about their way. Well, through time and crime and accidents, and especially the signal, a lot of these bricks got lost. And so socially, people would talk about their bricks. What did you bring with you? What's inside of it? What happens is it you have a closed brick. It became a mystery box. What do you think someone put in it? How valuable is it? And then people started trading them, imagining themselves having, say, finding a gold bar in a brick. And then, is a gold bar even worth anything in deep space? Or maybe you find, I don't know, the complete novelization of something you've always wanted. And so it's completely worthless to everybody else except you, that is able to keep you valuable. Yeah, DBJ is George Costanza. I am. I'm kind of shaped that way too. Little pudge. and for those who don't know, George Costanza is actually classically trained. So yeah, I go off. Besides, people who listen to the show, I don't want too much dead air. So bricks are not only a value, they're kind of a social interaction, right? It's like, how many, people will talk together, like, how many bricks do you have? Like, I got 3 of them. Like, what do you think's inside of it? And so it becomes this very fun conversation with people about what's inside of a brick. What would you put in a brick? And yes, players can open up the brick to find out what's inside of it. Will they find, I don't know, a dead rabbit with a note on it saying "F you"? Here's the divorce decree. Will they find a brick that they open up and find well preserved chocolate bars that, come to find out, those chocolate bars, if you were to sell them or trade them in a space habitat, are worth they are worth people's livelihoods because they haven't had real chocolate in you know back in my day we had real chocolate, and the kids are like, whatever, we got soy chocolate, it's the same thing. And no, it isn't. So bricks are the ultimate mystery box. And so they are traded unopened to other people who imagine them to be something else, who trade them to other things. They are the physical embodiment of joy, hope, dreams, maybe despair. I'm always unlucky. Every brick I've opened up has been blah blah, something else, whatever. Now, you can't look inside the brick, but the brick lets you know that it's safe, kind of. Some people have spoofed bricks, so if you open it up, you're going to release like a dangerous gas or virus, or there's uh you know irradiated nuclear rods or things like that. Is it possible you find something like that in there? Sure. Maybe you find information like the coordinates to a hidden, I don't know, Datacore, right? Or is a Datacore inside of a brick? It's possible. Could a brick give you, I don't know, nuclear launch codes, or the keys to eternal life or something like that? Yes. You guys are talking to each other. A brick that is rumored to have a baseball card collection worth trillions and such, and even some of the rock hard bubblegum sticks. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, you could find, and by the way, um, the, in this world, there are trading cards for scientists. So scientists out in deep space are the equivalent of sports athletes. So there's even that kind of thing too. This chocolate must be something better than Lint, pretender to the throne of high class chocolate. Yeah, I've got chocolate behind me. I've got some Godivas and Rochers and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Who knows what kind of what kind of valuable chocolate it is? And here's the thing. Bricks are the. Let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Bricks are the common. Bricks are ciphers. Bricks are common, everyday, fun. Um, Roll the dice to get some random thing if you bother opening them. Right? It's not true treasure in the classic sense of Dungeons and Dragons treasure. This isn't a wand of fireballs, right? This is, oh, you might find scuba gear, or you might find um, very expensive clothing made out of real fur and cotton and leather. This may be a small child's toy or a drone complete with VR goggles or something, right? Small objects that are fun or tradable or cute. But the value of, honestly, a brick is not opening it up at all. Because if you open up a brick and you find tube socks in there, semi dirty, it's like, dun, 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 But if you don't open it, it might be as valuable as gold to someone or someplace or whatever. So the value of a brick is not opening it. It is literally the trading of a buying and trading and selling and discussion of in the hopes and dreams of a mystery box. Data cores, on the other hand, are another form of treasure. There is no data core that will not change you, society, a faction. There isn't one. The ownership, the discovery of, location of, finding of, and using of a data core will always leave a mark, and not a very good one, on the people who have them. And data cores represent a technologically, they're not harmful. It's people using them without forethought and um, I'm not making a moral or ethical reason of using or not using them. That's up to the player characters. And I don't want to make a distinction as to what the players use. If the players decide to use them for the betterment of humanity, if they think it'll work, sure. If they hoard it, sure. If they are treasure hunters, sure. Are they stopping bad guys, the big bad evil guys, from using it for their own purposes? Sure. So, yep. Yeah, TA says, sorry, all of this somehow triggered my memory of that episode where the collector was trying to collect data from Star Trek The Next Generation. Yes, yes, that is a possibility. Could you open up a Datacore and it's a fully realized artificial general intelligence that the players, I don't know, plug into a system and it becomes another player character? Yes. Yes, Caligula says, so humanity's past is so unknown that a brick full of chocolate or baseball cards could constitute treasure? Yes. Well, here's the thing. It's not that they don't remember their past. It's that you can only take so many things into outer space. Now, as time has gone on, the amount of weight and value and volume and mass and density of objects you can take in your space has become better. But originally, bricks were, here's a one-way pass to space. If you had a box, you could only fill it with a limited number of objects. What would you put in that object if you were to take it with you? If you left Earth forever, what would you take with you? And that story of, I would take with me my favorite gaming console. I would take with it pictures of my family and friends. I would take with it a book I can read over and over again. I would take with me a my favorite sweatshirt or something like that. A memento. I would take with me again, gold coins because they could be valuable, or chocolate because people wouldn't miss that or not have opportunity. Because remember, let's stick with the chocolate thing here, right? Chocolate is is created through the biological method of growing coca. Where would you grow that in space? Would there be a place to grow it? If you're living in space and you don't have access to entertainment or access to spices or chocolate, listen, the front lines of the military, there was a reason why my uncle, real life thing, my uncle worked on the USS Saratoga, which was a aircraft carrier that was decommissioned. And I do not have this object, and I wish I still had it. Anyway, the Hershey's Chocolate Company made Hershey bars and put them in metal tins so that soldiers, he was in the Navy, but soldiers of all the military branches in the United States could carry these Hershey bars in their gear without the Hershey bars cracking or melting in these metal tins. And so they would eat the chocolate in the metal tin or trade it with someone. And that chocolate became very valuable to other members of their group. Because, if you're in a squad of 10 people and you've got a chocolate bar, just one piece of chocolate on the front lines is pretty valuable. And then those tins were filled with razors and toothpicks and toothbrushes and things like that. So yes, chocolate would become very valuable in space when you haven't had a taste of real chocolate for weeks, months, years, tens of years, things like that. Deadman says a brick filled with cryogenically frozen chocolate plant seeds would be extremely valuable, because if you get those seeds and you could grow it hydroponically, it's the same reason why people make toilet bowl alcohol, right? Like how soon would people make a still or create alcohol or wine in space? Damn near now, right? Someone's going to do it. Even if the rules say you couldn't do it, someone somewhere is going to create alcohol in space some kind of way, or get some alcohol up into space when they shouldn't. So yeah. Shy Squad says bricks sound like chests in Castle Wolfenstein, the real one from 1982. Oh, must be something fitting in there. I'm not familiar with the real version of Castle Wolfenstein or Wolfenstein. TA says, not surprising, since we have that happening now with someone finding a forgotten box of baseball cards or comic books, and when investigated, find a rare comic worth thousands of dollars in it. Yep. plus the value of a thing goes up from the rarity of that object, right? So the reason why old comics are valuable is because many of those comic books were made on very thin newsprint paper that yellowed and rotted away very easily. And it was many of those comics were printed during a time when recycling aluminum and paper and nylon for the war effort during World War II and Vietnam was a big thing. So they became even more rare. Oh shit. Slow clap. Dead Man says, or a brick filled with freeze dried bacon. Yeah, bacon ain't a meat anymore. It's put on the table. It's a seasoning. Bacon has moved up in the world. Yeah, you don't order something with extra bacon. You have bacon on the table. You put bacon on everything. Yes, absolutely. Candied bacon. Yeah, hell yeah. I'd like to order bacon with extra bacon, please. Shitlord says that moment when you realize the piece of paper in the brick is high grade blotter acid. Maybe. Who knows? Brick full of real Wagyu beef jerky. Yeah. Yeah. See, and listen, we can start imagining what would be inside of a brick and never opening it. You know, Wagyu? What? I don't know how to pronounce it. Yep. We had better chocolate bars in Germany around 1939. Really? I can imagine, yes. Um, I suppose if you were a chocolatier today, you would complain about back in my day, we had real milk chocolates and things like that. Shit, lords, it's like, you mean chocolate bars packed full of speed? Hey, you could open up a brick and find a kilo of cocaine in it. Sure, why not? TA says they used ice cream too as a normalizer in the military, like on board Navy ships as such, to remind the sailors and army, etc., what they were fighting for back home, like a memory trigger. Yes, absolutely. My uncle used to talk about like those were special moments, special occasions, and things. To have, like you said, ice cream, chocolate, pizza, uh, heck, just Thanksgiving. Here in the States, we have Thanksgiving dinner with cranberry sauce and dressing and turkey and things like that. So yeah, it represents all of that. Yeah, how soon would they make a still for alcohol? Not now, but right now. Yeah, not now. I'm talking like now. Like you cannot tell me the scientists that are up in the ISS space station are like, how the fuck are we going to make? We got to make some alcohol some kind of way, or sneak it up into space or something like that. Yeah. Drew says that reminds me of the cookie boxes that are often used as sewing store boxes. Yes, very much so. Like, hey, someone put something in here and you find out what it is and things like that. Speed in chocolate bars was a real thing, part of the Nazi plot to create a super soldier. Giving soldiers drugs is not a new thing, right? Yeah. Throughout history, they've given that's where the word assassin comes from, hashishin. Yeah, yeah, which would be unfortunate to find. PCs are like, hey, let's eat these chocolate bars. And they start running around the starship. Like, I don't know why I can't sleep, but Shai says, in the real Wolfenstein, you would open a chest and spend time jimmying the lock, and then it contains clothes or sauerkraut or cannonballs too heavy to lift. Once in a while, you'd get yes, something good. Yes. Um how do I explain this? Bricks are minor, Datacores are major, and I wanted some reward system. And is it a little bit fantasy D&D-ish? Yes, but I also wanted something like, this isn't reserved for player characters, this is reserved for the NPCs. And if you as a player, some players, I have a policy that if you don't move in the world, the world will move you. So if the players are one of these type that are like, I'm going to go to the local tavern, inn, or whatever, start drinking and not move, then at some point the world is going to move them. And that means that at the farthest reaches of the solar system, will some version of a faction uncover some, transformative technological system that's going to give them power, which will make them far superior to the player characters, yes, absolutely. Yeah, Taste of Benant says, good idea. It must be hard to think up a reward for immortal posthumans who can do anything they can think of. Yes, yes. Um, this also falls into the idea of having purpose. So one of the fears of being immortal posthumans is that we would lose our purpose in life. That, like, what would we do if we can do anything? Some people would say we would do nothing. And so if you've got hundreds of years to hang around, why wouldn't you collect data cores that would take you to the highest levels of space and time and technological development and the ascension of humanity and spreading your horizons and things like that? That sounds like a really good idea. Maybe you want to be a totalitarian dictator, and this is the best way to do it. I wouldn't suggest that anyone do that, but would there be people that would do such a thing? Yeah. So data cores are a unit of measurement of purpose, and that purpose can be turned into story. So that's kind of how the how the sausage is made. Now, what do data cores do? I do have a random list. I'm still working on, like, manipulating the random list so that it makes a little bit more sense. But effectively, you as the spiral, as the game master, can decide what the data core does. Is there a hint that it can open a wormhole to Alpha Centauri? Yes. If you decide that, yes. Is it a mechanism that is able to draw power from dark energy? And that dark energy, which fills the emptiness of space, is basically infinite energy for a faction that has been at the lowest totem of society, and now they're going to expand out into the vacuum of space, and whatever, go so on and so forth. Does it give the answers to chaos theory or string theory or something? Yes. That's up to you. Mm-mm-mm. TA says, they open the brick and it turns out it's full of old buttons. Be funny if possible in your game if the buttons could be haunted, yes, or something too, otherwise tainted, say, with acid. Acid, so tripping. So tripping, they think they're haunted due to hallucination, ghosts and things moving around, but they're not really ghosts. Yeah, hey, sending illegal drugs up into space. You really don't want your early astronauts having their minds altered by outside chemicals and things like that. But would somebody send up a kilo of coke, speed, acids, meth, and all that kind of stuff? Of course they would. Of course. What would their purpose be of taking it up into space? Who knows? Maybe selling it to. And now remember, bricks are still in use. So a criminal organization who loses a storage container full of bricks might be coming after the player characters. So it's not like it's not like all the bricks are covered in dust. It's the fact that no one knows what's in the bricks in the first place. Now, a criminal organization that wanted to sell some form of uppers or speed or adrenal boosters to space miners in the asteroid belt sounds like a pretty good story. So bricks and data cores are units of purpose, and that purpose can be used for storytelling. So yeah. Heck, you could even have very rich people who have a data core in a big party and are bound and determined to turn a data core on in front of everybody, who are maybe they're convinced that their minds would ascend to pure energy or something like that. I don't know. TA says, almost sounds like you are describing humans becoming time lords. A little bit. Says Shai says, aha, now we get to how the data cores can break the game rules. Yes, the data cores are designed to be the thing that breaks the rules. And so when the players can't do a thing, the data cores may allow them to do the thing that they can't do. So for example, a data core could literally disintegrate 100 kilometer sphere, like implode a 100 kilometer sphere of matter. Okay, so the players are on a mission to either recover or deactivate or make sure someone can't do this thing. And then maybe the player characters want to destroy a whole faction of, like, I don't know, hive-minded criminals or something like that. And then they activate the data core. It implodes a 100 kilometer sphere on the surface of Europa, and then that's the end of it, right? Like, the data core is destroyed. It literally imploded itself, and then we go on to our next, mission of the week or something like that. TA says, guessing you could have a super acid. I think your desire to have super drugs is a little bit telling there, TA. Yeah. Adrenochrome. Now it gets political. Yeah. Yeah. A drug class all its own called manifestogens that give mind over matter capability while on them, that changes may remain, changing reality instead of hallucinating a false reality. That sounds nasty, and I love it. Manifestogens. Yep, breaking literally reshaping reality, even if it's temporary. Although maybe the person who uses it, maybe they lose their mind as well. Yeah, Taste Bernard says, but it's a better way of breaking the game rules than a lousy old wish spell. Yeah. Now, yeah, but it's kind of like a deck of many things. Yes, very much along those lines as well. Except for, let me say this, except for the players and other factions have the ability to find out what the data core can do beforehand, so it's not totally random. I mean, let's put it this way: are there players who don't care and are just going to press the red button and see what happens? Of course they are. Um, are there some players that are like, hell no, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, right? Are there some players who just will refuse to activate one because they're the players who are the ones who would never draw a card from a deck of many things? Yes. And then are there situations where the players' characters have no choice? Are they on a starship with a countdown timer on a data core that they can't stop, and they know it's going to activate literally within 27.6 seconds? Yes, right? Like, all the above. So a thinking man's deck of many things. Yeah, shitlords. Yeah. Thinking man's deck of many things. This also allows us to bump up against, on one hand, you got a fist of reality, and the other hand, you have a fist of fiction. So the reality of the setting is that there is no faster than light travel. Players will constantly be harassed with keeping track of their gear and using resources and having resource management and things like that. And some players really don't like that. So to break the rules, if you feel like you want to break the rules in some kind of way, shape, or form, the idea of the data cores is where that comes in. So, for example, in this game, there are no alien races, or to put it another way, we are our own aliens. There are people who are in genetic bodies that cannot breed with other human beings, and so living out in deep space and modifying our minds and our bodies. And at a certain point, you know, the definition of are we human doesn't really exist any longer. So, so some players may be a little bit not overwhelmed, but maybe at some point, players and game masters might want to throw in a little bit of a trope, or a little bit of like, this is maybe a little bit too hard science fiction for me. I want something bigger and better. And so This is the excuse to do um the instant immortality, the instant disintegration, the time travel, the how did the AI get loose, the xenovirus, the alien species that somehow arrives, the communication with an alien life form or galaxy or whatever. This is the excuse to have that in your world where it may not exist in other people's worlds. And also an excuse to have it temporary as well, because the data cores burn themselves out. Drew says, I am some players. I don't really like that. Yeah, yeah, and again, there's also the speculative fiction part of this, right? Like if you've got a brick or a data core in front of you and you don't know what it is and what it does, um, the conversation of what do you do with it, in that conversation is part of post-humanity, meaning if you had one wish of some sort, if you press the button knowing that there might be a downfall to that wish, what would you do? Ta says, hey, my message should not come through. I don't know. I mean, I don't control it, so, or it might be late. It might be late coming through. Yeah, Shice is like, no alien races, just like in real life. Yeah, yeah, you love it. Yep. TA says the big shiny candy like red button. Can he resist it? Will he resist it? Tune in next time as bzz, boom. Yeah, why did this come through earlier? I don't know why it didn't come through earlier, but yes, absolutely. Big shiny red button. Do you press it? Do you want to press it? You know, heck, that could literally arrive at the end of a imagine this. The players wake up. They don't know why they were knocked out, but when they wake up, it's been hours, days, weeks. They wake up understanding that they are the lights are flickering in their starship, and they are very close to a hidden, maybe even decommissioned or vacant habitat, space habitat floating in space. The players need to discover. We don't know why we're here, but the answers are in that habitat. So they take their hobbled starship and they move closer to the space station. They go into the space station. They go through trials and tribulations. They avoid obstacles and hazards. They get to the core of the space station. There is a data core, big red button, ready to activate. They look at each other. They press the red button. Hours, days, maybe even weeks pass by. They wake up on their starship, realizing that the clue to realizing why they are here is on that space habitat. They take their hobbled spacecraft. They go towards the space station. You get the point, right? Like that's a real possibility of what could happen with a telling a story with a data core. So, Taste of Banat says, so what we learned today is bricks give you your old candy and Datacores give you a thinking man's deck of many things. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yes, that is very much it. TA says, i.e., will they be reserved and careful with the data core or even destroy it out of safety, or will they not be able to resist firing it up and using it to see what it is? Hells yeah. And remember, if your players are super cautious, throw some NPCs in there that are not cautious. Maybe they have um um someone or something with them as an ally that desperately wants to press the big red button. Maybe there's an adversary, not an enemy, but an adversary, someone who also wants to gather those data cores and is like the first thing they want to do is put a bullet right through it. We're going to destroy it. And the PCs are like, no, 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 no. We could use that. And the people with them are like, I thought we had an understanding here. We're going to work together, but we're going to destroy this damn thing. Or Indiana Jones, the end of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, putting it in a brick and stashing it away amongst thousands of other bricks, things just stashed away. Yeah, which if it's stashed away, it means it still exists and somebody else might be after it. Yeah, the old candy could be tube socks or drugs. Yeah, so silly. TA says, I like the idea too that they find something that is a big deal, but it's also tainted with, say, a virus or fungus that if they are not careful and sterile might cause them harm. Yes, let me see if I can draw up the, let's see, random table. Datacores. Let me share this out here. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, it won't let me share it. Let me turn this off. So here's my preliminary. Um, Here's my preliminary thing on Datacores. We're going to do through this very quickly. Here's some information about them. Um, so here's a level of conditions of where to find them. This is pretty basic. I'm going to add another thing onto this, but like again, you might find one that's like hermetically sealed or blood covered, or it might be like oxidized or weathered. Um, could be dismantled or corroded or something like that. So you might find it in a particular condition. And then, like, what does it do? And so we have ourselves like what kind of activation it has, what kind of bleeding edge science it messes with, what kind of reach it has when you activate it, what are some of the major drawbacks and some of the quirks. So if we get to activation, let's pick number 4. So if we get to activation here and we go across, right? We go across this list, it has the ability to deflect something. And that deflection randomly might be dark matter for some reason. So maybe it somehow deflects. Why would it deflect dark matter? What does that even mean? I don't know. But if you roll randomly on all the tables, it could deflect scion waves. Number 5 is absorb. Number 7 is duplicate. Number 9 is visualize. Number 11 is embody. So who knows what it might, manipulate is number 1. So the bleeding edge science could be something like subatomic microorbits or quantum fluctuations or fission pocket reactor or curved space continuum or tachyon temporal particles or whatever. And what does that mean to you? Who knows? You make it up. And what kind of reach does it have? Does it do it in a cone or a ray or a cylinder? Maybe a single singularity point or a sphere, or maybe a giant wall or an octahedron or a cage. And then what are some of the major drawbacks? Does it send a scrambled signal to your enemies, or does it become a von Neumann nanotech lattice and grow? Does it overwrite important data that you have on your starship or something, or does it drain batteries or a reactor? So on and so forth. And then lastly, with some strange quirks, like minor quirks, like, is the Datacore, does it have a magnetic pull and it's difficult to pull it off the hull of the ship or something? Or is it written, can you not understand it because it's written in some kind of Xeno language, some kind of alien language? Maybe the Datacore is extremely fragile. It's very easy to break. Or the Datacore is a black box of an event that happened somewhere at some point. Maybe it's maybe it's an it has animated movements, so it has legs on it, or it flies around like a drone or whatever. Maybe it glows with 1,000 with 1,000 lumens or something, some strange way, or just floats with anti-gravity, which in and of itself there is no anti-gravity technology. So maybe it just floats, or is extremely heavy. It has a great weight, or maybe it has like some kind of camouflage network around it, which makes it difficult to find, but also very easy to lose. Or maybe it has some quantum link with some other object or technology, or another data core. It's like quantum link to another data core that you could find. Or maybe somebody else has another data core that finds out that you found the one that it's linked to, and they come looking for you. So yeah, all those kind of things. So and let me get out of here. Tachyons to travel back in time, but Obsidian Star is too smart for time travel. Well, no, it there could be time travel in your world, maybe just once, or maybe the players get stuck in a Groundhog Day loop that keeps repeating itself over and over again, and they can't stop it until they turn the Datacore off or destroy the Datacore. TA says could be some bacteria or fungus or virus that has long since been extinct, so no one gets a vaccine or something for it, and it's super deadly like Spanish flu or smallpox. Yes, it could be covered in it, found in it, or it could literally, if you plugged it into a SCADA system, it could literally print out could you imagine it plugs into a 3D printer and it prints out smallpox, right? That no one has a vaccine for? Yeah, that's possible as well. Releases a Tasmanian devil, a stable, pure energy matrix that is programmed to destroy something and does so. Yeah, and does so by breaking the matter of the item down through fusion until it is gone. Now figure out what its target is, or it will just start attacking everyone all around it. Yep. Physical energy. Yep. It's also an AI that has only energy sustaining it, so no matter at its core to destroy. Yep. Benat says, wouldn't time travel be more like a brain augmentation, total recall thing here? Sure, it could be. Maybe someone activates the data core and doesn't realize that everyone has passed out and they're all in the VR realm. Everyone just thinks they pressed the button, there was a flash of light, and they're all standing there. And they could literally be in a VR world, not realize it. And then reality starts shifting on them. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense because this is hard science fiction. Why are we seeing like demons and elder gods and Cthulhu and Lovecraftian horrors, and then come to find out that they're all unconscious? They have to wake up from the VR realm that is the data core. And when they destroy the data core in the VR, they wake up, the data core is destroyed, a smoking heap or something. Yep. I have a meme about tachyons and the half full empty glass of water concept. Huh? That's funny. Drew says, great. I thought about a data core that becomes unmovable when activated, thus immediately flying out of the habitat since everything has relativistic movements. Oh, shit. Yes. Yes. It could literally stop moving, which means, because what we understand about physics, our whole galaxy is spinning. So it would literally blast a hole through the outside of a habitat, blowing through planetary objects as the galaxy and the universe and the celestial objects and starships and everything keep moving at relativistic speeds. Yes, very much so, Drew. Very much so. Yeah, that sounds like an episode of Red Dwarf where they were actors back on Earth and it turned out it was a dream caused by a psychic squid. Yep. Yeah, Drew says, by the way, a data core that creates a time loop would allow the players to open all the bricks and check them before he gets reset. Yes. If you say so, the players are like, cool. And you're like, they're going to be punished when I introduce this. And they're like, cool, let's open up all the bricks and see what's inside of them. Yeah, that sounds like a player character thing to do. Definitely a heavy player character thing to do. All right, guys. Going too far. Didn't even think we'd even talk about this, or you guys let me ramble this far. But that's what data cores represent in this space. And because there's nothing, the players cannot interfere with much outside of the Oort Cloud. There is this kind of confined space of our own solar system that feels, despite how big our solar system is, it also feels very claustrophobic. And I want the idea that the data cores within the Oort Cloud and our own solar system might have such an impact that our own little tiny sphere of influence could be wiped out by the use of a data core in some kind of way, shape, or form. So I do want to get across the idea that like they're fun, but they're also dangerous. Time to evolve into an Obsidian Star cat. Woohoo! Ooh, like Prince. Yeah. What would be funny is if they open them, wait for the reset, then open them again, and everything has changed. Damn. That's funny. That's funny. They're like, oh, we know what's in the bricks. And they open them up again. And they're like, you mean that's not chocolate? Those are dirty tube socks? That's really weird. Yeah. Shitlord says, so next week will be Obsidian Star week too, right? That's up to you guys. That would kill the channel, I think, a little bit, but yeah, that's up to you guys. Anyway, we, I don't think that's a good idea, but it's a possible idea. Yeah. TA says, I hope so. Any old schmo can ramble on about D&D all day. That's true. That's true. I'll consider it. I will consider it. Some of the most watched content on my channel has always been about Eclipse Phase, a little bit of Altered Carbon. Like that constantly gets hit. There's some new school stuff like Level Up Advanced 5th Edition because I worked on that and such. I mean, if I actually move the channel towards what people watch, it wouldn't be Dungeons and Dragons, not necessarily. Well, no, let me take that back. There's a lot of OSR type of material as well. So yeah, I don't know. I love science fiction. 2024 shall be the year of Obsidian Star. TA says, why not just nail down what the concepts are good for and allow them to be game system agnostic? True. Shai says it's true. The Eclipse Phase videos were my gateway to DBJ. Damn, you guys are making a good argument for it. You know what I'll do? Maybe I'll share some of the statistics on my channel, and then maybe we might go from there. Hell, maybe I'll do like a Saturday. I don't know. Whatever. I'll think of something and I'll put a video out there and I'll see what you guys have to say about it. It'll almost be like a living poll. Like, hey, these are the things. Let's do it. So anyway, guys, got to get out of here. Your time is very valuable. Thank you very much for spending it here. I hope we can make some change in your tabletop role-playing experiences. Guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. Peace and tranquility.